All right,
into your presentation.
can we dim the lights a little bit?
We can.
Because this looks cool.
Number 4. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, look at that. It's really neat.
It's a right.
Yeah, right. Worth the wait. Thank you. So yeah, let's talk about digital rurality, which is not a real word, and that's the point because we're breaking new ground here. We're not doing the stuff that Tokyo always does. Tokyo's gonna Tokyo, man. Right? The rest of Inaka, the rest of rural Japan, it's blue ocean. There's all kinds of weird, cool stuff you can do out there, and that is kind of what I want to talk about today. All right, so that's also me. I used to be a whatever. So yeah, I run Akiya's. I've done that for 2 years now. Kabishiki Kaisha.
Meth addict, someone said online.
Oh, is this the one?
Yeah. Got a photo they didn't like.
That's actually a selfie. I took that. Amazingly. So yeah, I run Akiyas.io. I've done that for about 2 years, but I've been in the Akiya space for about 7.5, call it. So that deals with, obviously there's research, due diligence, and brokerage. I'm not a licensed, but like everybody else, we just use agents to get that stuff done. I do it on a very boutique level. At the same time, I also do luxury events, which is in a manner of speaking, luxury anyway. As top of funnel, I find that people are really good at daydreaming about rural Japan and Akiya and doing new and cool stuff, but they don't know what they're doing. And so they never start doing anything, right? And so the events that I run, like retreats and things, usually over the weekend, are really just kind of pulling people into new spaces so that they can kind of get a little bit of a taste of the things that they could explore if they bothered investing. So it's kind of top of funnel sort of stuff. And then I also do a good bit of advisory, partnered with local governments as well as private entities, mostly based in Kanagawa and Shizuoka. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But then I'm also MK Ultraman, which is a mind-bending business consultancy. If you want to do normal stuff, I'm probably not your guy, but if you want to explore novel territory, that's where I really excel. I also do music tourism, which I'd love to talk also about, but that's a separate revisitation of the JP Vinyl, which is a fun little AI project that I started that leverages all of the, it's kind of like Akiya, but with vinyl records. Again, that's another story, whatever. He's also a guitarist for the heavy metal band Worship Pain. Last night we actually had pain sauce. We started making our own hot sauce recently. And yeah, like I do a bunch of that stuff. But today, what the Akiya things. This one people have seen before. It's just like, oh, look, Akiya are increasing over the years. That's kind of neat. Whatever. It's opportunity for sure. That's why most of us are here, right? The one that I think is really curious, though, is this one over here, which I don't think I've ever seen anybody else use before. This is the year-on-year change in percent change in new standing stock and Akiya, right? Registered Akiya. And by the way, this actually gets miscommunicated a good bit in English. Akiya is a designation. It is not a style. It is nothing but a unused property, and usually it receives that designation after 6 months of not being used. That's all Akiya is, right? And so if you look at the green ones, that's Akiya. And so those are kind of like bumping up. I guess there's a downward trajectory right now, but it's a little bit chaotic. Whereas the gold ones here are from 1998, standing stock year on year, or I'm sorry, 5 year on 5 year. This is from the census released in 2023. New builds have been going down every year for the last 20, right? And so one thing I'm really curious about that I think is like a fun thing to think about anyway, is if that trend continues and Akiya remain kind of like chaotic and whatnot, there's going to be a point sometime in the relatively near future that new stock really won't be being built. And so the entire business model of what real estate in Japan even means will necessarily have to change to reflect that reality. So let's just like keep that one in the back of your head. And so this one is where I think a whole bunch of opportunity exists. So the network connectivity nationwide from 2018, so it's a little bit outdated. I don't know what like last year's was, is like 76%. So that means access to internet, right? And if you don't have access to internet in 2024, what does that say about the kind of business that you're doing, right? Probably very local, probably very Japanese, probably nobody else in the rest of the world even knows it exists. Which, from a local point of view, all right, whatever, you're getting by, like making your money, that's fine. But from, building up and supporting and growing economies, be they local, be they national, whatever, that's not exactly like encouraging, let's say. And so Tokyo, unsurprisingly, has a much higher, penetration rating of 85.1%, which still to me is like, really, there's 14.9% people who don't have like a smartphone at least. Apparently so. And then Iwate, where I actually used to live, I lived in a place called Miyako, is the worst in Japan at 64.5%. Now, on one hand, that's what, disappointing, worrying, maybe, all of this stuff. But as I was just speaking with Rita kind of about, it's also an opportunity. Go in there and take advantage of the fact that it's a pretty like big disparity between what the rest of the world does business wise and what's going on in like Iwate, for example, right? You can help people out basically. And I think Akia play a big role in that. So boop, 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 boop. Yeah, the government, of course, for years, if not decades, has been making various incentives and partnerships and programs and things like that, which are pushing various digital infrastructure initiatives. It's government. Like, I applaud it. I love it. I want to see more of it. It's government. It's going to be slow. Like, that's just kind of the nature of the beast. So I dig all of that stuff. You should keep your eye on it. I think public-private partnerships, which is a lot of what I do at the moment, advisory-wise, are a good bit more interesting because they're able to move while the government is being like kind of slow and doing the big stuff, and so that kind of gets things moving faster anyway. And then there was this digital society advancement thing that has like a really nebulous website that kind of professes, it's Japan, we're going to do stuff in rural areas and revitalization and everything, but it's kind of uncertain of exactly what it's trying to do. But private investment is what I think is really interesting and kind of part of what I want to talk to everybody about today. There's again that 65.1% internet access thing in Iwate. Again, government's going to be slow. I applaud all of it, but it's not going to happen very quick. And honestly, we need some quick wins. And that's where private investment comes in, I think. And where responsibility comes in quite a bit, both civic, personal, whatever. How do I want to say this? I implore you, as investors, I think and this is what I basically force my clients to do, as investors in rural Japan and Akia and kind of these unused nascent infrastructure. That's what I've always thought that Akia represents. Is it could be something big if it was just done right, right? And oftentimes, I've got a few anecdotes later, is like the bare minimum is sort of done and people are kind of okay with that. And again, oh, are you breaking even or at least making a little bit of profit? And people are like, oh, okay, whatever. I think we can do better. And again, I kind of implore my clients to do better because that's what rural Japan needs, I think. And that mostly comes in the form of digital infrastructure. That can be as simple as, straight up understanding how to take a good picture on your iPhone, or it can come to network connectivity. I'm advising a Hakone hotel right now who, I love it. They were really concerned. They're just opening, and they were super concerned that they didn't have like very good Wi-Fi access or network speeds. And I said, yes, you probably don't. Get me in there and let's get this thing done right. And that's what I want to see all of us in here, regardless of what kind of business that you're doing, really strive for is don't just be good enough, right? Be awesome. Yeah, and that's that. And so one case study is, so I advise a company called Dia, which is an IT infrastructure firm, mostly doing network security, cybersecurity stuff. And last year, we partnered with the city of Makinohara in Shizuoka. Here's us over at the Tokyo American Club 3 days ago. I'm talking with, there's the vice mayor and then also the bucho of city development. And they're really looking forward to making what they got into something even better. And actually, meant to make a point. They'll so what? I'm also like extremely bullish right now on Shizuoka specifically. I think the access is good. The what culture, the people, the Frinky, all that stuff's really, really nice. Makinohara is extremely interesting because it's a little bit past Shizuoka City. Shizuoka City itself is about an hour west of Tokyo. And Makinohara has an international airport that was opened in 2014. And the reason for that is at the time there was a whole bunch of international investment coming in for tourism, energy production, and a few other things. And it was going pretty good. But of course, coronavirus happened. And then there was also this little issue of the the maglev track running through this jurisdiction, and they kind of didn't like that. And so then they started talking about getting a Shinkansen station in the airport, in the international airport, which to me, from an infrastructure point of view, is mouthwatering. That to me screams accessibility and opportunity, right? And they just landed the contract to get that Shinkansen station opened. I think they're projected to like 2028. I'd have to get back to you on those numbers. But anyway, that to me is extremely exciting. I think that will open up a whole bunch of opportunity, and they do too, which is why they're talking to us about getting their basically their whole digital infrastructure kind of up to speed with what modern requirements, let's say, are. And so that one thing that we do is the regional assets they have. It's Shizuoka, right? So T and Mount Fuji, I guess. Tea is, and this is an example of the kind of stuff that I want to see people with Akiya do, is tea, delicious, love it, totally cultural and traditional and all these things. It's also like not the sexiest thing. It's usually just like older people farming and kind of looking older, I guess. And so one thing that we started doing is actually brewing our own kombucha using the local tea assets of Makinohara. And at the breakout session, if you want to have a taste, come on over. And of course, that also comes with digital marketing, that comes with web design, that comes with network security, that comes with cybersecurity. It is a government, right? And that also comes in the form of Akia, right? How do they determine, number one, how do they determine what they got? Because a big problem, the Akia Mondai, the Akia problem, right? Probably the biggest part of that is they simply don't know what they're looking at because very little of Japan's real estate records have actually been digitized, or at least meaningfully so. If they've got a PDF, okay, that counts as being digital, but it's not exactly like easily manipulated. And so they're also looking at working with their real estate to better identify sellable, viable properties, and then also look at ones that will never ever become something such that they can demolish it. And I applaud that. Over in Yugawara, I've got two stories about that awesome place. The first one is the ryokan project that I am working on. It's really cool, and I think that ryokan are the most exciting asset, Akiya asset, right? Because Akiya aren't just houses; they're quite literally anything, including ryokan. So these traditional inns are kind of quintessentially Japanese, and especially to the Western consumer, that tends to be pretty interesting, pretty attractive, right? But the ryokan business model, which is to say short-term stays, hotel more or less, is pretty dated. And again, with digitization, wow, the horror stories that I've experienced myself. I remember this. Well, that one's kind of long. Anyway, ryokan are great, but they're kind of mismanaged, let's say. And so what we're doing at the Shiroyama-kan in Yugawara is transforming that into kind of a split property. There's 5 individual units, each with their own rotenburo, so like outside bath. We've already renovated those ones and are turning those into basically Airbnbs, which is nice. But then there's the mother unit, which has 6 sleeping rooms. It's got 2 onsen. It's got 2 indoor, or I'm sorry, 1 indoor onsen, 1 outdoor onsen. It's got a full, I mean, it's a hotel. The kitchen is a real like industrial kitchen and all of that. And we're turning that into kind of an apartment space, right? So long-term stays, really, but being very niche about it and focusing on basically IT workers and trying to get them down there. So we have kind of this, I don't want to call it necessarily a commune, but like a communal living sort of space amongst people with similar interests, which is a really good way to stoke development, business or otherwise, right? Another one that I think is super awesome is a little company called EXP. also in Yugawara, who have done excellent work with the property, the ryokan, or not ryokan property, the kominka property and the Miyakami district of Yugawara. And what they've done, I think, is spectacular, honestly, because oftentimes, and what, this is the third year of this event, I think, second, third, something like that. At this event and most events involving Akiya or even just real estate in Japan, renovation comes up a lot. And renovation's great. I love renovation. It's really, really good. But then what? Right? And what I think EXP has done with their property in Yugawara, but they've also got a few other ones, is they went the extra mile. And this is like what I was saying about don't be good enough, excel, be excellent sort of thing. So they went the digitization route. They've got the management platforms on, iPhone, or I'm sorry, on mobile. They've got like what auto locks and all of these things. And then also I just discovered this, they've gamified all of this too, so that not only do you have a property that is modernized and digitized, but also a program that actually allows people to more easily explore the environments and communities around them. Because sometimes that can be kind of scary, especially if you don't speak Japanese, right? And so having an Akiya, or maybe not Akiya specific, but like a local area game for people to use to actually get out there, meet other people who maybe they've never seen or heard of before, that they can then communicate, hey, there's this really cool spot over there, like check it out. That to me is just like, oh, that's I want to see more of that. You're very welcome. Um, but then I want to give there's so I'm not like a negative guy, but I like having both sides of the story, you know what I mean? And so, unsurprisingly, usually at events, everything's like all positive and whatnot. I think it's valuable to point out some negative things sometimes, though. And so there's two instances that I want to mention. I won't name names, so nobody will feel bad. But I think they're important enough to be aware of, because if you do the kind of stuff I'm about to tell you, you're gonna fail. Like it's not good. So this one time, this is all within the last year. I went on a ski trip somewhere, and I have a friend up in that city. And I said, "Hey, I'm coming up. Let's go ski. Also, where should I stay? Give me some local recommendations. I don't want to just go to any hotel." And he gave me a recommendation. I said, "Okay, great." I booked it. Went totally fine. And I get there though. Two things were well, number one, it was like an Akiya renovation. Of course, for me, that's like a slam dunk. Love that stuff. Get there. It's a little bit kind of got a weird vibe about it. It's got the auto locks. They didn't bother doing any of the installation retrofitting, things like that. I also run network speed tests everywhere I go, despite the fact that they had advertised themselves as a co-working space and hotel. They were running at about 2 Mbps up and down, which I'm pretty much cloud native, and so like I can't use that, right? I get upstairs. The bedrooms, the rooms, right, were what do you call it? Not spackling, particle board. I think is that the word I'm looking for? Just like partitions of particle board. The bed fit into this partitioned area, and then there was I don't know maybe half a meter of room right next to it that you kind of squeeze by. So that was the room. It didn't have a locking door; it just had like a magnetized curtain sort of thing. But worst was there were no bathing facilities, which I'll give them maybe the benefit of the doubt. There was an onsen nearby. And so, probably, I'm guessing, I didn't ask, but I'm assuming what they were thinking is there's an onsen nearby, just go to the onsen. For a certain type of person, probably for Japanese people, totally fine. I'm very aware of the fact that especially Americans are very shy about getting naked with other people. Right. And so this whole not having a bathing facility, but advertising to like American travelers is a huge misstep and great way to shoot yourself in the foot. And so think about that one. Another one is I was speaking with a local government and they like what I do. And they kind of wanted me to come over and check out what their offering was. This is kind of near, yeah, well, you know what? Not going to say it. I won't tell you where it is. Anyway, I go up there and they said, come by train. It's okay. We'll drive you around. And I was going to get there at like 8 p.m., which is late. This is last November. So it was dark. And as I'm on the train, All right, I'm gonna give it away a little bit. It's like near Kanagawa, let's say, because I parked my car in Yugawara. I'm on the train. It's dark. I asked them where I'm staying. They said, "Don't worry, we got you," but never told me like where. So I realized maybe I should have been a little bit more proactive. But on the train, realizing, you know what? You just give me a pin on the map, and that looks like a mountaintop, and it's 8 p.m. I've never been there. I won't have a car. Are you just gonna dump me on top of a mountain? Like, is that what's happening here? And that was what's gonna happen. What was going to happen until I said to myself, you know what? I'm just gonna go to Yugawara and get my car, and then drive up there. And it turns out that yeah, it was an abandoned school on top of a mountain that didn't have. It had running water and electricity. There was nothing around it. No other people on these winding little what do you call them? Like farming roads and things like that. Me being me, I was kind of like, all right, this is kind of ridiculous, but whatever. Let's see what happens. All ended up well the next day. I actually had an excellent time out there, but it occurred to me that, wow, this person who is a representative of this place that is trying to promote itself to, foreign investors in particular, this is how you're inviting me over to explore. Probably shouldn't do that. So yeah, be careful about how you activate your business because there are a lot of ways to screw it up. Where are we at? Oh, and so this is kind of what I advise on, actually. Obviously, I do the brokerage and advisory, and I also do digital infrastructure. But most folks who purchase Akia or just real estate in general, I would say, if you're not living there, then you're probably going to make a business of it. And as I was kind of saying during the lunch break, I don't really like DIY anymore because, like, I'm not a carpenter. I don't want to pretend. I don't want to try that. So just like get somebody who's a pro to do it. Just like you should do it with various legal obligations and asset management and all of this stuff. Get somebody else to do it. You're going to have to pay for it. That's fine because it's going to get it done right. And then you'll just make more money more quickly, presumably, if you have a good idea, right? So, yeah, be very adamant about just basically outsourcing. I dislike. I think I would say I dislike DIY approaches to this, not because I think that DIY in general is a bad thing, but right now, rural Japan, the Akia market, Inaka, whatever, it needs quick and easy wins. It doesn't need maybe not misguided, but like unsupported adventurism because that often fails. And rural Japan's already kind of in like a hard spot. And so we need to make sure, again, this kind of goes back to like obligation or like civic duty, even of make sure you have the resources and make sure you understand what you don't understand so you can get somebody who does understand it to do it correctly and you can move forward successfully more quickly. And these are just like random things that you can do with your place. I think the smart home stuff, I'm sure all of you are already thinking of it, is excellent to go after. Energy management is a bit more intensive. I'd say that's probably best for like hotel level kind of things. And then, I mean, just various. So, like, I don't know, you can research. This slide sucks. Oh, this one's important though. Again, this middle one is the Satoyama Initiative. That's a government thing, right? And so I support it, but again, it's government, so it's kind of clunky and doesn't move as quickly as I would like it to. But there are two things that I think are very, very important. First is adventure travel, which I kind of hinted at earlier in the presentation of just if you already know something, help other people go and experience it as well. I do this with the weekend retreats, right? Basically, like I get wild game meat, I get local beer, and some kind of like wacky outdoor, usually like scuba diving or hiking or something like that. And just give people like 48 hours of a taste of what that lifestyle might be. And from there, then, maybe even if they don't purchase or move there, they'll have that resource for when they're thinking about going on vacation or something like that. And so then they can go and engage with local economies. Another really good one that actually got me involved. It's not responsible for me getting involved in Akia, but it's definitely responsible for me being in Yugawara, is workaway programs. In particular, there's one called WOOF, WWOOF. stands for Willing Workers on Organic Farms. And basically, you go work on a farm and they feed you and give you a place to sleep. Which to some people maybe isn't all that attractive, but for others, myself included, that's just a way to get my hands dirty and like build tree houses and stuff. And I think, actually, it's not that I think, I know that programs like that, again, myself included, are the reason that I exist in a particular area. And so if you can facilitate these, number one, participate in these programs, and number two, facilitate them, you're looking at a way to kind of, again, like activate local economies, local businesses, and kind of just like, yeah, make the unknown more known to people through your activities there. Yeah, this one's kind of obvious. Actually, but it is obvious, and even so, I've seen so many times this obvious stuff gets screwed up. In particular, the water. Make sure that you understand what's going on with your pipes because sometimes they blow up. There was one in Ibaraki. This is why you should work with me or anybody else here as well. I was in discussions with a potential client, and they said, "You know what? No, I can do it myself," and they did. And they bought the property. It was in Ibaraki, and they went in. And on the night, I think it was in October, they turned on their faucets and the pipes burst. But number one, they're not plumbers. Number two, they didn't know where the plumbers were, and so for I think it was 3 days, they just had water flooding their house. Um, and then yeah, that's just ridiculous. So I mean, seriously, like I kind of don't know the right way to say, or at least the nice way to say this, but like you probably really don't know what you're doing. And knowing that is very powerful because it allows you to go find the resources to let you do the thing that you're trying to get done, let you do that successfully. And if you don't do that, your pipes are going to burst, and that sucks for everybody. So please, like, understand this. How much time do I have? Okay. Yep. All right. Well, let's skip past this because I wanted to show you a really cool thing that I did because technology, again, kind of bringing it back to that, blah, 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 blah. It's really important. Be it AI, I've got crazy stories about cryptocurrency in rural Japan and stuff. But the one thing I did recently is up in Minakami. I also make music videos for bands, and I was up there and I brought all my camera gear and I thought, oh, I'm going to make this cool music video. But then I started skiing and I wasn't taking any video. And so all I had was just a bunch of like really pretty vistas, but no story. And I thought to myself, oh no, this is the most boring music video. What do I do? And then I thought, let's AI it and see what I can do. And so what AI and like new technologies allows you to do with rural Japan is not make like what hacked together fake art or whatever. It allows you to visualize things that never were, such that they might be in the future because you can point at it to somebody and say, look at this. This could be a thing. So, without further ado, here is the first ever Minakami heavy metal video. The AI is also music. That's real. That's not.
What organ will you use?
one of the other points to just have fun. Show people that you're having fun in places that they haven't had fun before. And yeah, anyway, Q&A if we have time.
Thank you. Questions to Matt, folks. Don't be shy. Raise your hands. Or don't. Oh, there we go.
Oh, yes.
I have a question. It's quite broad, but I know you're looking at different areas around Japan for like doing akias and investments. What are the top 3 areas right now you would recommend for someone starting out getting akias?
Kanagawa, Shizuoka, Gunma.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Specifically, Gunma-wise, Isesaki, Maebashi, what's that place called? Well, Maebashi area, so like northern Gunma. Actually, just like right below Minakami, right up top there. Mount Haruna. What is that place? Takasaki. So that's Shinkansen-wise, that's Annaka Haruna stop. Up there is good. The reason why that's nice is it's far enough away from Tokyo to like actually feel like it's far from Tokyo, and you've got access to ski stuff without the responsibility of having to manage that much snow. I won't stop talking about snow management, so please, unless you are very, very prepared to manage all that snow, just don't do it. Shizuoka-wise, Shizuoka City area, I think, and maybe Hamamatsu. I feel like Hamamatsu is a little bit early right now. And then Kanagawa-wise, Shonan is, but it's pretty expensive now. So like Kanagawa is not over, but it'll be more expensive there. Sure.
I so I have loved Japan for over 40 years, and I also have done a lot of construction and historical restoration in my life, and I worry a lot about the loss of historically important, architecturally rich properties, um, maybe lost to the DIY people, and also lost to the fact that we have these incredible Japanese craftsmen who are dying off and not teaching their trade to anybody new. So, um, eh, who cares what color their skin is? But is there any kind of apprenticeship program that you've heard about in Japan where maybe they're bringing in somebody from around the world who might be interested in learning this craft? It doesn't matter if they're Japanese or not, but it needs to be preserved. And is there anything going on in the Japanese government to say, um, uh, to talk about historical preservation?
Kind of. This is actually a very complicated question, at least for me to answer. So it deals with, so there's the digitization thing, right? There are programs. Nobody knows they exist. They're not very well promoted, and they're not exactly all that accessible. And so that's just problematic in that there's a thing that you could do, but you won't do it unless you know about it, and you don't know about it, and probably won't. So that's never going to start. And then there's also so shokunin is the word that you want to use for like artisans and stuff like that. And I actually just wrote about this. Shokunin are great. Artisans are awesome. Artists, wonderful. Love them. Want to see more of them. But they tend to be a little bit bullheaded, let's say. And they really want to focus on their process, their art, which again, you're an artist. That's probably what you should be doing. But also tend to have a bit of an allergy towards any sort of sales tactics or marketing or promotion, kind of think that, for lack of a better phrase, like they're above that. And so these programs that do exist also tend to run into that territory of, well, we just, if we just do our job and maintain the tradition. Again, I'm not at all against tradition, but I do see there's an issue with the fact that, well, there's this wonderful tradition that everybody loves, but like nobody's supporting it and there are no apprentices. So like the thing that we love is going to die unless we do something about it, but it's very difficult to do something about it. See what I mean? So that's my answer, I guess.
Sorry, somebody from the stream asked, number one, if you could repeat Shizuoka, Kanagawa, and what was the third one?
Gunma. Gunma.
Gunma. Okay, sorry. Gunma. And another one mentioned you wrote on one of the slides something called EXP. What does that stand for?
That is the company's name. They are EXP. What's the website? That's them.
EXP. Oh, hello.
Yeah. .is. Yeah.
Sorry. Brief.
EXP is a company that blends design and technology to activate underutilized resources. The website is exp.is. Okay, we can do a breakout session. No, just kidding. We actually are a group of architects and technologists combined together. So we do everything from experimental to expansions that exploration, experiments, expression, and expansion. That's IE.
There we go.
That's IE.
Thank you very much. Any further questions? Yes, Robert.
Matt, on the slide you said that sucked. There was something about rainwater harvesting, which is something my wife and I have been thinking about.
Oh, really? The slide didn't suck?
No, because it had rainwater harvesters on it. So, how much was that the slide paper? Oh, there it is on the right.
Yeah, there we go.
The second from the top. Do you know much about that? Is it?
I don't. There's up in Minakami. There's a few spots. One is the Mominoki Lodge. They act or participate, I guess is the word to use.
Is it more for commercial, or can standalone houses also?
The standalone houses do it at this point. It's really used for like it's not developed at all. Like I don't see much of that. And so that's actually why I put it up there, because I know of a few spots that when I discovered, like, oh my God, you're doing that? That's amazing. Yeah, just rainwater, like collecting it, using it. For farming, for potability. I mean, you can obviously, like, and it's very bare bones. I'm talking about like putting the purification tablets and things like that in it. Yeah.
Well, we'd run it through a proper
Something like that.
purifier for
Yeah.
drinking purposes.
Right.
But also, for showers and baths, given how much rain we get in Saitama.
Right.
It seems like a worthy project, but I don't know how popular or how valid, let's say, it is. How valid.
I would fully support you in exploring it. Because, I mean, that's really what Akiya represent. And just like rural Japan, and I think somebody was saying this previously as well, is it's not a thing because nobody made it a thing. So just try, and of course, experiment with risk and like don't do something that's dumb. But, if you can manage the risk, if you know what you're doing to, a sufficient extent, go try it. If it doesn't work out and you did your homework, well, then you can just stop doing it and it doesn't hurt anybody. But if it does work out and it wasn't a thing, maybe now it becomes a thing.
You mentioned about internet, not being able to access internet. So you can't use Starlink here?
You can, but everybody hates Elon Musk. So there you go.
Answer.
It's not that bad. It's like $500 for setup, and I think.
All right, one last question, then we have to call it a day. Veronica?
Do you set up the internet in a place that have like 5 houses?
Yep.
But the one house to the next house can be 100 meters.
Yeah.
And it's all on the steep in the like kind of mountainside. Some part is flat, but there are 5 houses, and we struggle with the internet
Oh, really?
to have one set of internet they can connect to all the other
Yeah.
houses.
Yeah, I have a team of network engineers.
You do
So
that?
yeah.
Okay, so that you're the man.
there, done.
He's the man in so many ways.
I was just gonna say, if Matt does it, it's gonna work. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Matt Ketchum.
You're welcome. Oh, and come to the breakout session if you want to try Shizuoka kombucha that I make by myself.